Good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome. I'm Nicolas Vergier, your host and moderator today. So thank you for taking the time to join us today for this 45 minutes webinar with St. John Bible. We hope you learn about the artistic and the spiritual beauty of the St. John Bible. St. John Bible is a partner of the Federation during this year of celebration of the centenary of the Federation. And St. John Bible was, in fact, attending to the Rome conference that some of you participate in last January in Rome. So today we will learn more about how community, student community, for example, can use this gift of sacred art to initiate spiritual imagination for generation and animate, in fact, complete life. So today, this webinar will be divided in three moments, in three parts. It will be a dialogue, open dialogue and discussion with our two speakers. And after that, we'll have a moment for questions and remark that we'll be able to share in the chat box where you can submit your question. So feel free to drop your question in this chat box on the topic, but also to share your experiences, but also your struggle. And we will be happy to try to answer to your question by the end of this session. So also one aspect, don't worry about taking notes. We will send the session recording video through email within 2-3 days, more or less, in order to give enough time to your communication team to just reformat the video. So without further ado, let me introduce you to our two speakers. We will talk about their story, about building community to share experience of beauty. So our first speaker today is from St. John Bible. So welcome, Meghan STRETAR. You have served as assistant director of the St. John Bible Heritage Program at St. John's University in Collegeville, Minnesota, being a resource not only to your campus, but also to more than 150 stewards, but also supporting effort to bring the Bible to new stewards around the world. Meghan, you had a long passion for St. John Bible. You were a student at the College of St. Benedict. You were graduate in 2017 with a degree of elementary education, and later you returned to Collegeville and complete a Master of Divinity, focusing on the intersection of prayer and mental health in 2021. During which time you serve also as program coordinator for the Heritage Program during 2 summers. And our second speaker today, Carolyn PIRTLE, is the program director of Notre Dame Center for Liturgy in the McGrath Institute for Church Life at the University of Notre Dame. Notre Dame University is a IFCU member, a long IFCU member, and former president of Notre Dame, of University of Notre Dame, Father Esberg, was president of the Federation in the 60s, and he was a famous and very active president of the Federation. Caroline, you hold a degree in piano performance and music theory composition from Kansas State University, as well as sacred music and theory from University of Notre Dame. You have given numerous of presentations on the St. John Bible around the United States, and also you are also present on the importance of the art in the Christian life, in the task of catechism, and in the building up of community through shared experience of beauty. So I won't talk more for this introduction. So if you are ready, let's get started. First here with Meghan. Meghan, you will tell us a bit more about St. John Bible and the Heritage Program, and then we'll give the floor to and continue with Caroline. So welcome.
Okay, perfect. Let me just pull up my screen, and I'll start with some warm Benedictine greetings to everybody who's joining this morning, this afternoon. It's hard to talk about the St. John's Bible concisely, so I've put together a short video to help sort of keep me on track so that Caroline can have most of the time that we have this morning. But I hope that this video helps provide a little bit of context for not only what the St. John's Bible is, but also the sense of place that is St. John's Abbey and Collegeville. So the story of the St. John's Bible is truly one of collaboration, discernment, and relationship. It is the first handwritten and hand-illuminated Bible commissioned by a Benedictine monastery in over 500 years. Right now, we are in the midst of celebrating our 25th anniversary of the project, as the St. John's Bible was commissioned in 1998 by St. John's Abbey and University. After getting to know Donald Jackson, one of the world's foremost Western scribes, after he was keynote speaker at a calligraphy conference on campus in 1981, they hired him to put together a team of 23 artists, scribes, and support staff that ultimately worked together for over 15 years to create this singular work of art. There's only one original manuscript of the St. John's Bible, which is housed at the Hill Museum and Manuscript Library in Collegeville, Minnesota. And so to help share the St. John's Bible to the wider world and to fully embrace the mission of igniting the spiritual imagination of people around the world on all faith journeys, they decided to create a fine art reproduction of the St. John's Bible, the Heritage Edition. There are 299 total Heritage Editions, and today they share the beauty of this 21st century Bible with its themes of hospitality, conversion of life, justice for God's people, and lifting up marginalized voices with a larger audience. It is a full-size reproduction of the original manuscript and includes detailing such as watermarks to mimic the bleed-through of ink on vellum that makes these editions as close to the original as possible. The Heritage Edition now is housed in over 175 locations around the world in both Catholic and Protestant churches, schools, colleges and universities, retreat centers, and healthcare settings. This video here is from Hamilton, Ontario. This is at a hospital setting in Boise, Idaho. Here is a retreat center in Nebraska. This is at St. Martin in the Fields Church in London. It has also visited 3 popes, John Paul II, Benedict XVI, and most recently, Pope Francis. And the Bible has even been to space. We're often asked why the university and Abbey would spend so much time, talent, and treasure in the modern age to create a handwritten copy of the Bible and also to create such incredible fine arts reproductions. The Abbey and University really wanted to show the world that the Bible by its very nature is communal and to be opened up and shared. It's meant to be opened up, explored, and looked at together. There are over 160 illuminations that are not meant to be didactic, but instead are meant to invite people in to come together, to ask each other questions and start dialogue and conversation that they might not otherwise have been able to. And so ultimately, by having this conversation, it's a way of starting to build community, which is really what the St. John's Bible and Heritage Editions are all about. And with that, I will hand the mic over to Caroline.
Thank you, Megan. What a beautiful video. It just makes me so excited to see the communities and to see the impact that the Heritage Edition program has had. So I will share my screen. I've also prepared some slides to help tell the story of how we have utilized the St. John's Bible Heritage Edition here at the McGrath Institute for Church Life. But I thought I would start actually by answering maybe a question that you have and that might be, well, what is the McGrath Institute for Church Life? So we are a part of the University of Notre Dame in the United States. We're located in South Bend, Indiana, and we operate out of the heart of Notre Dame, Our Lady's University, and we seek to serve as a bridge between the academy and the church. We take the research and the resources of the university, and we make them available to those who have dedicated their lives to building up God's kingdom through ministry, education, formation. And the Notre Dame Center for Liturgy, where I serve as the program director, is just one program among many in the McGrath Institute for Church Life. And so in 2017, the Notre Dame Center for Liturgy participated in a program called A Year with the St. John's Bible. And I had the honor of designing and implementing numerous programs, lectures, and formation opportunities around the St. John's Bible during that year. And because of the success of these programs and because of a desire on the part of the Institute to continue integrating the beauty of sacred art into our programming, the McGrath Institute for Church Life acquired the Heritage Edition in 2019. Of those 299 sets that Meghan mentioned, we have set number 81. I've served as the main steward of our Heritage Edition ever since. And I just want to take a moment to thank Tim and Mary Sullivan, who gifted the McGrath Institute with our Heritage Edition as part of the Sullivan Family Saints Initiative. It was an incredibly generous gift that has continued to bear fruit since that time, and it's truly transformed our programming. So with that in mind, this is just a screen grab from our website that you can go and visit and learn more about our programming. But I'd like to offer 4 main arenas in which our Heritage Edition of the St. John's Bible has been integrated into the education and formation of the McGrath Institute, in the hopes that this will spark ideas and inspiration for you as you consider your own efforts. So those 4 arenas are online education, campus and community formation, so right here at the university. That includes Notre Dame undergraduate and graduate students. It includes faculty and staff. It also includes outreach to the broader community of South Bend, Indiana, visitor engagement, and on-site engagement. So first, I'd like to talk about our online education, because this was really the first foray into the programming around the St. John's Bible. So as I mentioned, we acquired our Heritage Edition in 2019, and my first project was to design a free online course around the St. John's Bible. So we worked with faculty from Notre Dame's theology department and from the McGrath Institute, and they created videos where they would unpack the visual language and the theology of particular illuminations, and then provide exegesis on the biblical texts themselves. So they unpacked the creation, the 10 Commandments, the Psalms, the Word made flesh. And each unit also included guided meditations of Lectio and Visio Divina to teach our participants how to pray with scriptures and with art. So we recorded these videos in early December 2019, and we launched our course on Ash Wednesday of 2020, which was February 26th. And of course, around 3 weeks later, the United States entered lockdown with the COVID-19 pandemic. And so our online course became this sort of lifeline of beauty for people throughout the world. We went from having a few hundred participants registered at the beginning of Lent to, by the end of the Easter season, we had 2,600 participants from around the world who had stumbled on our course when they were searching for digital resources for spiritual education and formation. So during that time, I also learned how to be pretty adept with Zoom sessions on the St. John's Bible. I would often lead guided sessions of Visio Divina for many of the programs in the McGrath Institute throughout 2020. And I noticed how hungry people were for the uplifting effect of awe-inspiring art and beauty, even in a virtual space. I noticed that these sessions had the unique potential to create community far more so than other virtual Zoom sessions that I had experienced during the pandemic. And I realized that it was this shared experience of beauty that brought some much needed healing and much needed hope, at least for a short time. And it had the capacity to kind of knit people together across geographical distances and time zones, much like we are being knitted together today. And it reminded us that we weren't alone during this time of isolation and immense suffering. Now, since we've kind of emerged and it's now kind of a post-COVID environment, these online offerings have diminished significantly, but this time was important for me because it made me realize that it actually is possible to share the St. John's Bible in a virtual space, if that's the only option available, and that it can still have a great impact, and it can still be a very powerful experience for people who experience it, even if it's digitally. So as far as our campus and community formation goes, we have a large undergraduate population. We have around 8,500 undergraduate students. We have around 1,500 graduate students. And so I've given several presentations on the St. John's Bible in undergraduate theology courses, including a course called Faith and Science, which is taught by my colleague, Chris Baglow, and he runs the McGrath Institute Science and Religion Initiative. And so I will often focus on the illuminations in particular that highlight the dialogue and the relationship between faith and reason, or science and religion, when I'm doing that work. I've also shared the St. John's Bible with our graduate students. I offer a session on integrating the arts into the tasks of catechesis and religious education, with a special focus on the St. John's Bible, although I do touch on other sacred artworks as well. And this program is offered every year to participants in the McGrath Institute's ECHO program, in which young people are placed in parishes and schools throughout the United States, and they learn from mentors how to be more effective ministers in the church. And so many of these young people are often inspired by this session to integrate artwork into their formation. So you can see here one of our ECHO apprentices offering a session on the St. John's Bible itself. She's doing a session on the Psalms with people in her school and her community. So it's really inspiring to see how these young people take the inspiration from the St. John's Bible and then offer it in turn to their own communities. And then we also work with faculty and staff. This past November, I was able to offer a mini retreat to members of the Notre Dame faculty and staff on the campus in collaboration with our Office of Campus Ministry. This offered folks a chance to step away from the stress and the busyness of the semester. And again, it created a space for a shared experience of beauty, a shared experience of prayer and reflection. Within the broader South Bend community, the University of Notre Dame, and especially the McGrath Institute, work very closely and very intentionally with our local church leaders here in South Bend. And I've been invited numerous times to offer presentations on the St. John's Bible parishes here in South Bend, as well as regional diocesan formation events around Indiana. I've even been invited to share the St. John's Bible in an ecumenical context. I gave a presentation at the Main Methodist Church in downtown South Bend, and it was really well attended by people from all sorts of different faith denominations within the Christian tradition. We've also offered special programming around the St. John's Bible for the South Bend community. In September of 2017, during our year with the St. John's Bible, the Notre Dame Center for Liturgy partnered with Sacred Music at Notre Dame, and we produced a sold-out multidisciplinary concert at the DeBartolo Performing Arts Center, where the audience was invited to contemplate the mystery of the Incarnation through carefully selected illuminations that were projected into the performance space, much like the photo that you saw of the Academy of St. Martin in the Fields. And these were accompanied by sacred choral and instrumental music, as well as dance and scriptural proclamation. It was a really, really wonderful event. Now, as far as visitor engagement, our third arena, we have a volume of our Heritage Edition on display at all times in Geddes Hall, which is the home of the McGrath Institute for Church Life. It's where I'm speaking to you from today. This is our display case. We had it specially made, and we can display one volume at a time. So currently we have our Prophets volume on display with that beautiful illumination from the book of Daniel of the vision of the Son of Man. And our display case is actually fully compliant with the Americans for Disabilities Act. So that platform that you see can actually be raised and lowered. So if we have visitors who are in a wheelchair, or if we have small children who are coming to visit us, we're able to lower the display case so that they can see the St. John's Bible in all its beauty. And every year, you may know that Notre Dame has a pretty popular football team, or unpopular in some circles, just depending on who you talk to. But we have tens of thousands of visitors to our campus every fall semester for our football season. And so in October of 2022, we partnered with Notre Dame's Medieval Institute. They hosted a tailgate outside, and we hosted an exhibit of all 7 volumes of our Heritage Edition inside our chapel. So this is the chapel of Our Lady of Mercy. It's actually located here in Geddes Hall. So we're very lucky we have such a beautiful space for worship, but we also have a beautiful space where we can exhibit our Heritage Edition. And we had hundreds of people come through. We asked them, of course, to leave their hot dogs and soft drinks outside of the chapel space, but it was amazing to see how many people came in on a football Saturday to marvel at the beauty of this illuminated artwork. And it was just a really wonderful experience for us. And then every summer, the McGrath Institute hosts nearly a dozen substantial programs which bring participants to campus from all over the country. So we're gearing up to start our summer programming as we speak. And I've had the honor of presenting the St. John's Bible to several of these gatherings, including, as you see there, our Science and Religion Initiative, our Compelling Preaching Initiative. I've also been a guest lecturer in a graduate summer theology course on media, technology, and evangelization, as well as our Notre Dame Vision program for campus and youth ministers. And with each presentation, I really try to tailor what I'm sharing with my audience. I really try to draw out different facets of the St. John's Bible that I feel like will resonate most strongly with my participants. So I mentioned the Faith and Science course earlier, and that also ties in with our Science and Religion Initiative. So when I'm doing that, I will present and highlight portions of the illuminations that really speak to that relationship between faith and science, between science and religion. And it highlights the fact that scriptural imagery and scientific imagery are not opposed to one another, that this is actually a dialogue that can take place through the gift of faith and through the gift of art. So for example, when I'm presenting to our Science and Religion group, I will often focus on the creation illumination and the beautiful fractals that are present in the panel of the first day of creation, or the fossils that are present in the panel depicting the creation of the sea life and the water life. I'll highlight the cave paintings in the 6th panel depicting the creation of man and woman. And we'll talk about how all of these images are rooted in scientific inquiry, right? They are rooted in the studies of archaeology and anthropology and astronomy, and they really lend a beautiful richness and help people hear the story of creation in a new way and envision it in a way that they may have never envisioned it before. I will also typically talk about the genealogy of Matthew's gospel, where the family tree of Jesus is portrayed as a beautiful menorah. And so that was also an image that I brought into the conversation when I presented in an ecumenical context, because we have the Jewish tradition of Christ himself represented in the menorah and in the Hebrew calligraphy of the names. And then we also have, of course, the Christian context, with this being the frontispiece for a gospel. But we also have beautiful touches like the strands of DNA that are present in between the branches of the menorah, so that when we say the word became flesh and dwelt among us, we are speaking at even a molecular level, right? We are speaking, Christ takes up our human nature all the way down to the smallest molecule. And so it really, again, opens up people's eyes to a new dimension of the mystery of the incarnation. And it also, I think, helps to reframe the genealogy narrative itself. I know personally, when I hear the genealogy narrative proclaimed every year at Christmas time, before my encounter with the St. John's Bible, that was one of my most difficult scripture passages to really appreciate and to enjoy, and certainly to appropriate. And it was my encounter with the illumination of the genealogy narrative as the frontispiece of Matthew's gospel that opened up new dimensions of the scripture passage that I had never considered before. And it gave me such a new depth of appreciation and love for what Matthew is trying to do by providing us with that genealogy, and for why the church continues to proclaim that narrative every year just before we celebrate the Feast of Christmas, the Feast of the Incarnation. When I presented to students in our course on media technology and evangelization, I actually was able to focus on the calligraphy itself, which is not typically something that I do when I present the St. John's Bible. If I only have an hour with folks, I typically tend to focus on the story of how the Bible was created. I will often share photos that we have from St. John's of some of the materials that were made to produce the Bible, the ink sticks and the quills and the vellum and the gold leaf. And I'll share the story of Donald Jackson's vision and the team of artists who were responsible for the production. And then I'll unpack a few illuminations with my audience so that they have a sense of how this visual theology can enrich our encounter with the scriptures. But with this class on media technology and evangelization, they were focused on the impact that digital culture has on the human person, on our ability to encounter one another and our ability to live an authentic incarnational life. And so I really focused, again, for the first time on the calligraphy because it accounts for the majority of the St. John's Bible, and yet it can be very easy to gloss over the calligraphy because it's so prevalent throughout the work of art. I think we get, as an image saturated culture, we get very caught up in the beauty of the illuminations, and rightly so, they are spectacular. But as I've spent more time with the calligraphy, and as I recognize just how much of it there is and the level of artistry that went into the handwriting of the Bible, I find myself drawn more and more to that. And so it was a real gift to share that with our participants and our students in this course, and to think about the importance of a handwritten Bible in an age of AI and in an age of lightning fast digital technology, and what this work of art can do in serving as a kind of antidote to the culture of AI, to the culture of lightning fast, instant gratification digital technology. I think it has a lot to teach us, and I'm still diving into that myself. So I'm looking forward to offering more presentations on the actual calligraphy of the St. John's Bible. Our fourth arena really is this on-site engagement. So Nicholas mentioned that I've traveled with the St. John's Bible a number of times. And so the McGrath Institute will often take our show on the road. We travel to partner locations throughout the United States to offer on-site programming. So we've gotten very good at traveling with the St. John's Bible, even though I will say every single time I have to drop it off at the at the check-in desk at the airport and check it as a piece of luggage, I send it with a prayer, because I think to myself, dear Lord, please don't let anything happen to this precious, precious volume. So far, we've been just fine. And our Science and Religion initiative that I've mentioned a couple of times hosts Institute Days. So I've been to Denver, Colorado. I've been to New Orleans, Louisiana. Our Church Communications Ecology program hosted an event at St. Vincent's College in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. I also had the opportunity to visit the Fred Rogers Media Center as part of this program. So if you're familiar with Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, he has a very incarnational approach to the formation of children. And so I was able to speak to our program participants about how the arts can help engage the spiritual imaginations and the scriptural imaginations of young children, especially. And then we've also done a lot of on-site parish and diocesan work. I have now designed actually 2 parish missions using illuminations from the St. John's Bible. One of these explores themes from Advent, and then the other that I was able to offer recently explores Eucharistic elements present in the illuminations, which of course, for those of us in the United States, has been really a great gift as we enter this time of Eucharistic revival. We're currently in a 3-year initiative intended to deepen people's love of the Eucharist. I've also gotten to take the volume. I usually just travel with one volume because it's pretty burdensome to travel with more than one, especially if you're flying. But I've also had the chance to take the volume to a couple of grade schools. So here are a couple of photos. The one on the left, I was actually presenting, that's my sister-in-law's 2nd grade class. She had a special little student named Anna who had special needs, and She was able to see the St. John's Bible, and actually she passed away a couple of months later, but she had a wonderful experience, the little child in the wheelchair, of seeing this beautiful artwork, and had all sorts of thoughts and questions about it. And then on the right, I'm there talking with students from St. Joe Grade School here in South Bend. Those are 6th graders. They were getting ready to enter into their time for confirmation preparation. And so we were able to talk a lot about a lot of different things relative to, the illuminations themselves, but also to the theological ideas depicted in those illuminations. And I'm always amazed at how awesome the kids' questions are, and how they often will see things that I've never seen in the illuminations before. So one of the great gifts of presenting the St. John's Bible is, I continue to learn from the people who are in my audiences as much as I actually am able to teach them. So overall, I have yet to present the St. John's Bible to an audience that wasn't fascinated by it. I've been doing this for close to 7 years now, and I use slides, as I do here, to show, as I mentioned, some of the materials used in the Bible's production. And the slides are great because they allow me to zoom in on specific details of an illumination that I want to draw out. But I always make sure to leave enough time at the end of my presentation for people to come up and to come close and have an up close and personal encounter with the physical volume of the Heritage Edition. Without fail, it's this encounter with the physical volume that has the most impact. People are riveted by the sheer size of the volume. When I present this to kindergartners, the book is sometimes as big as the kids, and they have never seen a book this large before. And so they have just this fascination with the physical volume, and they're riveted by the beauty of the light as it reflects on the gold foil, and it just brings the page to life. So I'll often move the page as they're standing there, or I'll encourage them to walk around the volume and see it from a different angle, because the light reflects differently depending on where you're standing, which of course is a great metaphor for our encounter with Scripture. Depending on where you're standing in your life, you will have a different encounter with Christ in the Scriptures, even if you've heard the story dozens and dozens of times. And so I feel like the Scriptures are something that we keep coming back to. These illuminations are certainly something that we keep coming back to. And again, the volume and the physicality and the incarnationality. They love the beautiful embossing on the leather cover that you can see on the corner of this this photo here. They love running their hand over the cotton paper to see how it feels. And I've had students, like 8th grade boys, who are not interested in anything, stick their faces down into the book and comment on how much they love how it smells. So even that olfactory sense is activated when they're encountering the volume. And it also prompts a lot of questions. When I show slides and I wrap up my presentation, I always ask, are there any questions before we come up to see the volume? And typically there might be 1, maybe 2 questions. But once people come forward to see the volume itself, it's like the floodgates open, and there are dozens upon dozens of questions that people come up with. And it's this amazing spark of curiosity and engagement. And what I love about the physical volume is that it also, as Meghan mentioned, it creates community. I think for me, the most ingenious decision around this project on the part of the people who created it was the decision to make these volumes large. I had the honor of meeting Donald Jackson in 2017. We were able to host him for a lecture, and he shared with me that one of his central goals was to create a work of art that people could physically gather around. And I've seen firsthand how impactful this is. People engage in conversations with complete strangers who just happen to be standing next to them as they look at the volume. And so this volume and the whole Heritage Edition really, and the St. John's Bible itself, it's a unitive force. It quite literally brings people together around the Word of God. In 2022, I had an opportunity to share a paper at the Benedictine College New Evangelization Symposium, Benedictine in Atchison, Kansas. And I explained how the capacity of this shared experience of beauty it opens up pathways for dialogue and for healing. And I think it's much easier to get people to share if they're talking about a piece of artwork. If you read a passage from scripture and ask people, well, what do you think about those words? What do you think about that passage? People are often really hesitant to speak up. But if you share an illumination and you give them a space of silent encounter and meditation, and then you simply ask, what do you see? It's amazing what kinds of comments and questions the encounter with the illumination will prompt. And when you do that in conversation with the scriptures, never separated from the scriptures, it really enhances people's encounter with the Word of God. And as I said, it opens up space for the conversation and for conversion and for healing and dialogue. So I really, encourage you to think about, hopefully this has provided a few ideas that might spark your own imagination for how you might integrate either the Heritage Edition, if you're fortunate enough to have one at your disposal, or sacred art writ large, because I think, the gift of the church's artistic tradition is that the St. John's Bible can be brought into conversation with works of art that date back centuries, works of art that are being created now. And so it really is a catalyst for evangelization and conversation and dialogue. So I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to share our experience of stewarding this remarkable work of art. And I'm very excited to see how we continue to use it moving forward. So with that, I will stop the screen share, and I'm happy to receive any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, Caroline, for sharing this your experience in the different way that you have experimented. So let's take some time, some minutes to share comments and our question also. We try to answer to. So you can two ways. You can drop your question in the chat box, but also you can activate your camera and your microphone and just speak freely. We will be glad to listen to you. And if you have also, if you want to share an experience that you have lived on your campus with students regarding also a sacred book, like a Bible on the campus, or if you have some question of how to implement this kind of experience that Caroline share with us. So feel free. So Caroline, well, I will take the floor first. I have a question. You start your presentation saying that you have started to organize some activity digitally, online. And do you think that to bring the youth, the students, this generation, through, for example, a spiritual experience like the St. John Bible, the Heritage Edition, the digital possibility that offer digital tool can be one thing that we have to try.
Yeah, I think COVID really forced that upon us. First of all, we weren't able to gather our students in person. And so, I think we did this out of necessity. But actually, our first, even pre-COVID, our first impulse was to create an online course where people around the world really could encounter the St. John's Bible. And so I think we recognized right away the power of the digital platform to be able to bring this work of art to a broader audience, which I think was the original impulse, as Meghan said, behind the Heritage Edition project in general. And so I think what I would say is that it's the digital, but always at the service of the incarnational. We really do encourage people in our digital coursework, in our digital platforms, to go and experience a work of art. If there is a Heritage Edition in their area, we have the list. I think it's outdated now, but at one point we had the list of all of the institutions that had the Heritage Edition. And so I would encourage people, even if you have to drive 45 minutes to a university library or, to a hospital that has the Heritage Edition, it's worth it to go and see. And so we actually received feedback that a lot of people actually went and did that because especially during COVID, having that in-person encounter was really, really important. And I'm happy to say that I discovered in this process that my alma mater, Kansas State University, is the only organization in Kansas that has a heritage edition. So I was very proud of the Wildcat community, and was happy to direct people to my old library to go and see the heritage edition in Kansas.
Thank you, Meghan. Also, you regarding the interaction you have with university, with campus, you also observe this importance of digital tools at the service. I'm saying, as Caroline said, not as a finality, but as a way to reach.
Yeah, I've worked in campus ministry previously to this position, and I found that social media is a great tool of sharing the digital artwork with a younger generation and a way of sort of capturing students where they're at. It's not a perfect tool. As Carolyn mentioned, it's a way of bringing people to the project first where they're at, with an invitation of seeing it in person to foster that community incarnationally.
Sure. We during I was mentioning at the opening of this webinar that we had the honor to have John, who is colleague of Meghan, attending on behalf of St. John Bible at the IFCU Centenary Conference in Rome, and we could expose, in fact, one copy of the St. John Bible Heritage Edition during the event, but also during one social activity. It was a dinner. And what you said, Caroline, about the size of the Bible is impressive, but it makes the experience very, very special, I have to say, because visually it's beautiful, but the size, it's make that you can have like 10 people around the Bible and be able to see the same thing, to have access to this holy text and the color and the illustration. And finally, it's not only an individual experience, but also a collective one, which is interesting, because during this social activity, it was a dinner, and you have like this 10 different rectors came around the copy from different parts of the world, but they were all inspired by this masterpiece.
Yeah, it really is extraordinary to gather a group of people around the Word of God, and to be able to share that with them, and to share in their encounter. And it, my background is in piano, and so I spend a lot of time as an accompanist in the musical sense. But the St. John's Bible has really allowed me to accompany people in the spiritual sense. Through the illuminations, you're able to kind of encounter people where they are with their questions about the faith, about scripture. And through the illuminations, you're able to work through those questions in many cases. One of the illuminations I really love is the raising of Lazarus. It's this beautiful, powerful illumination where we are in the tomb with Lazarus, and there's an image of Jesus. It's like the light at the end of the tunnel, and to my eye, the circular light looks like the host, and so it actually has this very Eucharistic overtone. And so, thinking about the Eucharist as the food for the journey and food for the final journey. So when I have met people who are bereaved, that illumination speaks very deeply to them. And, I've had people come up to me on the verge of tears when they've encountered that illumination, because it just touches them at such a deep level. And so it's very sacred ground to be walking with an audience, and to be accompanying them as they encounter, and to be serving as their guide through these illuminations. So,
exactly. Thank you for your answer. I see that we have two questions. So the first one is from Vinny. Welcome, Vinny. Thank you for for sharing with us this question. So this question is for you, Caroline. It's my first time to hear of the St. John's Bible. How is different from King James Version, the NIV, the NRSV?
The translation used in the St. John's Bible is the NRSV. And Meghan, you could probably speak to this better than I can, but I was given to understand it was chosen because it is viewed widely as the most ecumenical of the biblical translations.
Yeah, definitely most ecumenical. They wanted it to not just be a Bible that only people who practice Catholicism can use, but something that can be shared around the world. That's the mission of the St. John's Bible, as a global project. They also wanted it to be inclusive, and so the NRSV has very inclusive text, especially regarding women's roles in Scripture.
Thank you, both of you, for your response to the question of Benny. I see then that Zara also made a comment. So, hi, wonderful conference, an excellent initiative. Thank you. I'm not an expert in the topic. My question is, this artwork was originally drawn by who? By whom? Sorry.
Meghan, do you want to take that one?
Yes.
So there was a team of about 23 people in total. So that includes 6 scribes, Donald Jackson being the main artistic director. His backstory is fascinating. He was actually the scribe to the House of Lords and the Queen of England before he was connected to the monastic community at St. John's and started this project. And so he assembled the artistic team. I don't have all of their names in my head, but in our resources on our website, you'll be able to find all of that information. But it's an incredible team and very talented. Most located in Wales, where Donald Jackson's studio is located, and where he still works today, and a number of artists and scribes from the United States.
I think, yes, Meghan, another question for you from Maria del Carmen. Nice to see you, Maria. Excuse me, would you recommend any web page we can visit and see some image of this work art of the Bible? So, of course.
Yes, so the best way, of course, of seeing the St. John's Bible is in its physical form. But we're actually in the midst of redesigning our website, where a full online version of the whole Bible will be housed. That's not available at this time yet, but that'll be a high resolution way of seeing every single page with didactics and information about each illumination. So that will be coming in the next 6 or 9 months as this project unfolds.
Maybe I can just add that in between.
So oh. Sorry, I'm just very excited about that. That's great news.
Yeah, I'd say outside of that right now, our website would be the best place to access some images. Yep. And
one thing that we will send the recording of this webinar to all the participants, and including Maria del Carmen. We will share the contact of Meghan and also Caroline. If you want to interact with them, it will be possible, of course. That's true. Yeah, the best experience to contemplate and to see the Bible, it's just to have it just in front of you, even if you can find very beautiful pictures on the website. I mean, the website I used to visit, and also the picture that you share, Meghan, and also Caroline. But I would say each page have a particular beauty, and no, it's a real journey. We have to say, when you open it, you can't stop and to enjoy this really this masterpiece.
It is a masterpiece for sure. Absolutely.
And Caroline, just a question. I was thinking also, I saw on the picture you shared that different kind of ages also. I would say students from younger children even, and both of them, which are two different public, can also have can be attracted by the Bible and find a way to look at it and read it.
Children love it. I mean, they absolutely love it. I shared the photo that I showed of the young lady, the little girl in the wheelchair. That was right before Christmas, and so we focused on the illumination of the Nativity from the frontispiece of Luke's Gospel, and the kids noticed so many things when they saw the illumination, and they had all sorts of wonderful questions because they know the Christmas story. They've heard it numerous times by the time they're in second grade. But I've shared the St. John's Bible with kindergartners, and I've shared it with high school students. And, even among the children across age ranges, there's always a reaction. There's always a response. And even if they come into the presentation looking bored and looking like, middle school children often look, which is they're totally over everything, nothing can impress them. They're impressed by this. And they often will ask, like, one of the boys' favorite questions anyway is, well, how much does it cost? And so when I share with them what it costs to purchase a Heritage Edition, and that what they're looking at is a volume that's worth around $30,000, first of all, they're amazed by that, but they also feel honored by it, I think. They are honored that someone thought that they were important enough to participate in an experience of this precious, precious object. And it makes them, I think, feel differently about themselves too. So it's always a lot of fun to take it to a grade school.
Thank you. Yes, I believe also. I see that Zara have another question. Does anyone know if there is a possibility to translate this Bible in Spanish? Maybe this question is for you, Meghan.
Yeah, so I wish that the answer could be yes, but there's only one handwritten original manuscript, and the Heritage Editions are digital scans of that original copy. And so at this time, at least from this team, there won't be a translation, but I think an opportunity for another calligrapher and artistic team to translate the Bible into Spanish in this way.
That would be fascinating.
Yes.
To have like an acculturated version. Yeah, that would be amazing. Somebody should do that.
Yeah. not from St. John's, but somebody else,
right.
Perhaps.
Yeah, no, I think that is a real opportunity for sure.
Yes, knowing that going back to IFCU, we have 3 working languages, which are English, Spanish, of course, and French. So yeah, that can be an interesting project. Knowing that there is many Catholic university in Latin America. So yeah, that can be something that, I don't know, can be a nice project. Yes.
There are so many artists working now too. I think illumination has become, it's kind of enjoyed a renaissance, I think, due in part to the St. John's Bible. I'm thinking of an artist I encountered on Twitter. His name's Daniel Mitsui, and he does beautiful works of art that are really inspired by the Renaissance tradition, but often incorporate his heritage, which is Japanese American. And so he does incredible work. I know that there are artists out there, and it would be amazing. Donald Jackson's gift was bringing the artists together, I think. And so, it would be great to see somebody else take up the baton, as it were.
Yes, if can take one last question, or also you can share one last comment. Feel free to do it. Oh, thank you, Zara, for your comment. Thank you very much. Thank you to be here with us.
Yeah, it's a real gift to be able to share this with you all, and it's a gift to be able to share it with the participants in our programs and the people that we encounter here at the University of Notre Dame. It's, you know, it's a gift that continues to bear fruit, and I know that it will continue to bear fruit well into the future. So I'm very grateful for it.
Winnie has another question. Is it available in its condensed version already? Meghan, maybe this question is for you.
Well, the Bible is in its complete form. So the St. John's Bible is all 73 books of the Bible. In terms of a condensed form, we do have smaller versions that are available. Perhaps that might be a way of answering this question. So the Heritage Edition is, as we both mentioned, a full-size reproduction of the original, which is quite large and unwieldy. But we do have, from our partners at the Liturgical Press here on campus in Collegeville, smaller versions that are a little bit more accessible. So I can share that link with you, Nicholas, so that can be shared as well.
Sure. Yes, we will share this several information when we will send you the recording of this webinar and the contact, and also this additional information that you're mentioning, Meghan, with our participant, with the other people who register for this webinar. So I think if there is no more comments or question, I would like, first of all, to thank many thanks to Meghan and to Caroline for joining us today, for sharing your experience and around this beauty, which is the St. John Bible. That was really interesting to listen to you, inspiring. Also to thank our participants to have spent this almost 1 hour with us and sharing their question and observation. So hope to see you all soon. For the one in the Americas, I think it's the beginning of the day, more or less. So it's still time to wish a good day, and for the other one, a good end of the day or evening. So thank you once again. It was a real pleasure to spend this hour with all of you, and take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.